All right, let's talk about the spine calculator here. So on the bottom, you have the More tab on the far right on the bottom. We're going to click that. Aero Spine and Aero Build Calculator. We're going to open this. We're going to toggle over the Calculate with Aero details. So you'll enter your bow specific stuff, IBO, draw weight, draw length, brace height, and your carbon to carbon that you're going to cut an arrow shaft to. And then in this section below, this is kind of your arrow parameters. So arrow GPI, tip weight, insert weight, the number of fletchings, fletch weight per grain, nock weight, and wrap weight. The reason you need to enter all this, and when you calculate, you're going to see suggested arrow spine, FOC percentage, total arrow weight, and estimated velocity. Now, if you don't calculate with details and you just want FOC percentage, you'll still get a suggested arrow spine, but we don't know the arrow parameters, right? So this would be like, okay, I don't know what arrow I want to use, but I know I like 15% FOC. I'm shooting a bow that's 344 on ABO. My draw poundage is like 73. My draw length is 29.5. Brace height on that bow is actually 6.5, and I usually cut my arrows to 29. So then I would calculate, and it would say I need a 252 spine is your ideal. Of course, you go to the nearest. So 250 spine is what you'd find, a box labeled. But let's say I'm going to do a 10% FOC. Well, then I'm at 295, so I could probably use a 300 spine and be perfect. Now, a little bit about arrow spine. It's not something you could actually solve mathematically 100% to find the true ideal spine coming out of the bow. We're all kind of using guesses based on spine charts, analytics, stuff like that. I'll say what I'm doing is I am calculating the force of buckling of the column length. So that's why when you input all these parameters here, I'm finding where the center of gravity is of the arrow, how long the column length is going to be, and then I use your bow to determine what the average force curve is going to be applied to that column, and then I assign what's called a K factor when you're looking at column buckling to kind of fall in line of what the ideal spine should be. So that's how I've built mine. It's probably going to follow along pretty well with what a spine chart would recommend you do, with the exception that you have much more control over this because you can determine, you can put 200 grains up front if you want. And it's going to say, okay, well, if you put 200 grains, now you need you're closer to 238. So, 250 is a little on the weak side, 200 is a little on the stiff side, maybe a 230 spine if you can find one. Some manufacturers have that. So that's kind of how